another $100 a year. So you're going to have to figure out how to come up with that. So a lot of poor people, they're going to be on it perpetually. You know that. So you talk about yanking it, you're talking about tens of millions of people are going to be out on the street. Like, I don't know the exact figures of how many people are on Section 8 housing. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be millions upon millions. I will guarantee you that much. Guarantee you that much. And it's your housing costs are going to plummet. So worth, cost, price, whatever you want to call it, value, whatever you want to call it, that would be the effect. Ask any economist in the country that's honest. Any mathematician, ask if I don't know what the hell I'm talking about or I do know what I'm talking about. And you'll find out the same thing. Okay, so let's just leave it at that before I start acting arrogant, which comes pretty naturally to me. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. So we shouldn't cuck each other. Men should respect women, and women should respect men for being the beasts, the creatures that are created in the image and likeness of God. And, and put this neo battle of the sexes to rest that they're trying to. Any way they can divide us. 6 ways to Sundays, these a-holes will divide us. And that's just one more example. So I saw another episode of Forensic Files, and this is one I think I talked about last week. I hope I'm not getting my current events conflated, but oh no, this was a different one. No, this was a new one. Okay, this was where these 3 homosexual men, they were having, I don't know, menage a trois together. These 3 guys, and one of the guys was jilted, and he was kind of being forced out of the relationship and out of the house they were living in. And then, well, how could money be involved in that? But, the guy in the back of his mind might have thought, well, it's going to be a pinch. It's going to be a lot harder for me to pay the rent now if I'm out on my own. I mean, rents have gone up. I had a pretty good deal here on this room in this house. And I'm just saying, Jesus said the love of money is the root of all evil. We should all consider that. Anytime you see anything evil in the land, nuanced or otherwise, we ought to look at it. Big, small, or in between. Look at it and see if money somehow ties into it. That's why I'm always saying we got to get off the junk. And junk is likened to heroin. And the heroin of the species that we're all mainlining is the money. I mean, it's all about money, making money, paying our bills. How much time we all spend thinking about money when we should not do it. It is not God's fault. He did not invent money. He is not charging you for the fish in the sea, for the fruit trees, for the vegetables. He put all this stuff for the herbs and all this stuff, all the flora and all the fauna. God is not sitting there with a cash register telling you, or a scanner, and you got to pay for it. No. So if you're going to defend this money-based reality, then you're going to have to, come up with something a hell of a lot better than this scene, man. You're going to have to, I want some progress, man. I want us to define what that is. Across the board for everybody, liberals and conservatives and Democrats and Republicans and men and women, people from all nationalities, all races, all religions. All of us have to benefit across the board. That's progress. That's the direction we got to go. How are we going to do that if our cost of living keeps going up, if our taxes keep going up? We cannot do it under those circumstances. I've talked about these big name preachers. Some of these guys I find disgusting. Like, they find these guys are just after money out there on the TV. These televangelists out there, the Benny Hinn type guys. You find out these are money lovers. They're not serving God. They're serving themselves. They're insatiable money lovers, their hearts filled with avarice. So I have no respect for these big name televangelists. Make me want to vomit. They're the worst. I mean, in the sight of God, these are the ones that have the darkest recesses of hell. If you under my name you misrepresent me, and they're in bad shape. But I do like someone like Billy Graham. I remember once I visited with a friend of mine. I visited this Crystal Cathedral down in Orange County when Robert Schuller was still preaching before he died. Boy, that guy, I could tell he had a couple of swigs of something before he was preaching. He was slurring his words. It was so obvious. It was still enjoyable, you know. It really was. It was just fun to be in that beautiful cathedral, and you know. But all this idolizing of the preacher, I don't think it's fair to the preacher. I don't think it's fair to God. I don't think it's fair to anybody, you know. They're just humans, you know. Unless he's raising the dead, you know, making the blind see and healing the sick of every infirmity, he's certainly, you know, no different from any other man out there that's preaching. But it's still, you know, they're reaching a lot of people, so you got to hand it to a preacher like that. That's why I look up to some of these guys. That you know, Stanley, what's his name? Charles Stanley. I like that guy. I like some of these guys. I sense they're very sincere. So there's some of these televangelists I really like. I like people that like Christ. I like people that like the Bible and Jesus and the teachings therein, and that adhere to it. That you know, that's it, man. They properly represent God, properly reflect His goodness, and I support them. So anyhow, let's see. We got AJ's show. I saw that Turkey's legalizing marrying 9-year-old girls. I mean, you know, one has to ask, what WTF? I mean, give me a break here. I mean, that's what I mean about little kids. I mean, we're not talking about adolescent teenagers or something. I mean, we're talking about little children, man. And what does the Bible say about that? You know, you hurt a child in any way, you hurt their psyche. Okay, that's hurting their psyche. Pedophilia, you can't molest a child and think you're not hurting them. This is not okay. I mean, this is crazy that this is the world of the 21st century, anywhere in the world. Turkey, how can we allow that crap? Good God, I don't care where. And then, you know, want to know what to go to war about. I mean, good. Maybe that's a good cause to go to war. I mean, you know, protect the little children. I mean, that goes beyond the pale. I mean, talk about stuff, you know, truth stranger than fiction. That's the kind of truth that's stranger than fiction for me. I can't believe that. I mean, who would do it? Who, in unconscious, I mean, could you imagine wanting to marry a 9-year-old child? Oh my God. Anyhow, enough said on that's outrageous. But you know, the worst part of this pedophilia is that there's some of these people are getting killed, and then there's money. You find out there's a lot of money in this business of procuring children. Is very lucrative. Okay, it's so to talk about filthy lucre. I mean, there's a great example, and children are dying sometimes in these child sacrifices. Satanic. And you hurt a child, and you're that rebellious against the Word of God, the truth. I mean, you know, because it's warned. You hurt a child, man, you better to have a millstone tied around your head and hung to the bottom and thrown to the bottom of the sea. Better not to have ever been born. Okay, this is essentially what is written. So this Trump tax plan, Alex Jones talking about this, I don't think he really knows that well. I don't think accountants even know that well what the effects are going to be. I think Trump knows. But I think if it lowers our cost of living overall, it's good. If it lowers your taxes, it lowers the cost of living, it's good because it'll put a good taste in whoever's mouth got their taxes lower. And then they're going to maybe lower whatever goods and services or combination thereof that they offer the public. So I see any steps to lower other people's cost of living as a good step to lowering everybody's cost of living. You know, and I think about all this coming out about the sexist and the boorish side of men that's been coming out, which is true. I mean, but, you know, we are kind of like that by nature. That, you know, we're the studs, right? The bull, and, you know, it's kind of a different thing, right? We're supposed to chase the females and got to be a little pushy, maybe, I guess, you know, but certainly you can't intimidate a woman. That's crossing the boundaries. I would never do that. So, but we got to remember where this whole thing started with Slick Willie. But the mainstream media doesn't bring up a word about that crap. He dragged the nation through the mud for how many years over? I mean, Monica Lewinsky's name is tattooed in our brains, and the cigars and the blue dress, all this crap. And it was all Slick Willie. And this is where it all started. Why didn't they start then? Why did this movement start back then? So, I mean, good God, help us all. I mean, it's so hypocritical and so obvious, too. What the, you know,